And 2 months since the US and Israel launched a joint surprise attack on Iran, negotiations appear deadlocked as competing blockades of the Strait of Hormuz continue to disrupt global energy supplies, and the future of Iran's nuclear program remains unresolved. In a sign of the continuing standoff, and White House spokesperson Anna Kelly on Tuesday said the US was still engaging with Iran on negotiations, but would not be rushed into making a bad deal. And a day after US President Donald Trump and his top security advisors discussed a new Iranian proposal on resolving the war.
United States President Donald Trump says Washington's blockade of Iranian ports has been a success, urging Tehran to just give up as pressure mounts in a deepening standoff over the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has pushed back strongly, with Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf dismissing the US campaign as ineffective, while the military says its restraint so far has been intended to give diplomacy a chance.
And the Directorate of Passports and Immigration has completed a review of its passport processing system, covering all stages from application submission to issuance as part of efforts to modernize services. The review was conducted in consultation with IT experts and finalized ahead of planned upgrades to improve efficiency, transparency, and service delivery.
A US government investigation into WhatsApp's privacy claims abruptly stopped when incriminating evidence against WhatsApp surfaced. The investigation began after a November 2024 whistleblower's complaint submitted to the Securities and Exchange Commission. The inquiry was carried out through 2025 by a special agent from the Bureau of Industry and Security, specifically within its Office of Export Enforcement.
The Pakistan Meteorological Department, PMD, has responded to viral reports claiming that a so-called heat burst could hit parts of Punjab and raise temperatures by as much as 20 degrees Celsius within minutes. In its clarification, the Met Office said no such advisory or warning has been issued by the department. It rejected the claims being circulated on social and electronic media, including reports suggesting that southern Punjab could witness a sudden spike in temperature within 5 to 10 minutes.
And Chairman of the National Accountability Bureau, Nazir Ahmed, on Wednesday announced that new real estate reforms will be introduced within 2 months to overhaul regulatory practices. Speaking during an informal media briefing, he said the proposed reforms would be presented before the federal cabinet for approval.
The Pakistan Medical and Dental Council, PMDC, has announced the closure of admissions for the academic session 2025-2026, effective April 15, 2026. In a notification, the council directed all recognized medical and dental colleges not to grant admissions after the deadline. The council said students admitted after April 15 will not be registered under any circumstances.
And oil prices soared more than 5% to a fresh 4-year high on Thursday, while stocks fell after Donald Trump warned the US blockade of Iranian ports could last months as peace talks remain stalled. While Tehran submitted a fresh proposal this week to reopen the crucial Strait of Hormuz, the US president reportedly did not believe it was negotiating in good faith. And Israel's foreign ministry said on Thursday that Israeli forces had arrested about 175 activists aboard 20 ships from an aid-laden flotilla bound for Gaza. Approximately 175 activists from more than 20 boats are now making their way peacefully to Israel, the ministry said in a statement, including a video of the activists aboard an Israeli Navy ship. And the commissioning ceremony of the first Hangul-class attack submarine, PNS Hangul, was held in China's Sanya City, with President Asif Ali Zardari and the naval chief attending the event. President Zardari, who is on a visit to China, participated as the chief guest, while Chief of the Naval Staff Admiral Naveed Ashraf was also present, according to a press release by the Pakistan Navy. and at the unveiling of a towering bronze sculpture of North Korean and Russian soldiers in combat. Kim Jong-un praised troops who chose death over capture while fighting in Ukraine. And it was a striking and unusually explicit acknowledgement of Pyongyang's long-suspected battlefield doctrine, according to a transcript published by North Korean state media KCNA. And Kim declared that those who unhesitatingly opted for self-blasting and suicide attacks had shown the highest form of loyalty, and a reference to soldiers throwing themselves on grenades or detonating explosives rather than risk being taken prisoner.
New Delhi, India. Indian officials have floated a controversial plan to introduce apex predators such as crocodiles and venomous snakes into riverine stretches along the Bangladesh border to act as natural deterrents against undocumented migration and smuggling in places where erecting fencing is difficult. India's 4,096-kilometre-long to 545-mile border with Bangladesh runs through some challenging terrain, and New Delhi has found some stretches impossible to fence.
An Iranian Football Federation delegation says it turned back at Toronto's main airport this week, citing their treatment by Canadian immigration, and is set to miss a pre-World Cup FIFA gathering in Vancouver. Iran's Tasnim news agency reported on Wednesday that the delegation members, including Federation President Mehdi Taj, Secretary General Hediat Mombeni and his deputy Hamed Momeni, turned back fet upon arrival at Toronto's Pearson Airport despite holding valid visas, citing what was described as the unacceptable behavior of immigration officials. The Pakistan Medical and Dental Council has directed all medical and dental institutions to implement structured mental health screening protocols in response to rising cases of suicide and psychological distress among students. In an official statement, the council stressed the urgent need to safeguard the mental well-being of both students and faculty, highlighting the intense academic pressure in medical and dental colleges. The Pakistan Airports Authority, PA, is accelerating work on multiple aviation projects aimed at modernizing infrastructure and improving connectivity across key regions. The authority has launched feasibility and master planning work for a new greenfield airport in Faisalabad, marking the start of collaboration with international consultancy firm Dar Al Handasa in joint venture with local partner OCL Agent.
The Balochistan government has launched a new Green Line bus service in Quetta on the directives of Chief Minister Mir Sarfraz Bugti. Aiming to improve public transport and healthcare access, the service connects key areas of the city to the Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan Institute of Cardiology, providing safe, reliable and affordable travel for patients and their attendants.
And the government has revised passport delivery timelines, shortening the wait for applicants under the normal category and introducing a faster processing schedule across all major passport services. Under the updated application priority system for machine-readable passports, MRP, fast-track applications will now be delivered within 2 working days, while passports submitted under the urgent category will be issued within 5 working days.
Motorola has officially introduced the 2026 Razr lineup, including the Motorola Razr 2026, Motorola Razr 2026, and Motorola Razr Ultra 2026. Internationally, the devices will launch as the Razr 70, Razr 70 Plus, and Razr 70 Ultra. The new range of foldables includes a mid-range device, a high-end unit, and a full-on flagship-grade foldable.
4-year-old Shamir in Sindh Sujawal had been receiving his Hifazati TK on time for pneumonia, diarrhea, measles, typhoid, poliovirus. Every box on his vaccination card was marked complete. Yet on March 5, he became Pakistan's first reported polio case of 2026. Shamir showed no visible symptoms. He went out to play as usual, did not complain of joint pain, and showed no signs of paralysis. This is because he had contracted non-paralytic polio, which is a form of the disease that goes unnoticed, sometimes showing up only as a mild flu, but still capable of spreading the virus. The virus in his gut was genetically linked to a positive environmental sample from Hyderabad, lab analysis showed, pointing to ongoing transmission in Sindh. Bears continued to dominate the trading floor at the Pakistan Stock Exchange, PSX, on Thursday as the KSE 100 plunged by over 4,100 points during intraday trade. KSE 100 declined by 4,786.92 points, or 2.89%, to stand at 161,036.95 points from the previous close of 165,823.87 points.
And European leaders are seeking to clarify a little-used mutual defence clause in the European Union Treaty as questions grow over Washington's long-term commitment to NATO during a deepening rift with the United States. NATO, and founded in 1949, is a military alliance of North American and European countries built on the principle that an attack on one member is an attack on all. But years of tension between Washington under President Donald Trump and its European allies have pushed European governments to place greater emphasis on their own defence capabilities. And New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani called for King Charles to return the prized Koh-i-Noor diamond, which the British Empire took from the Indian subcontinent in the 1800s, on the third day of the monarch's state visit on Wednesday. Before greeting Charles and Queen Camilla at a 9/11 memorial event, Mamdani was asked what he would discuss with the king if he had the chance. And singer Misha Shafi on Wednesday filed an appeal in the Lahore High Court challenging a civil decree which ordered her to pay Rs 5 million in damages to fellow singer-cum-actor Ali Zafar, deciding a defamation suit related to sexual harassment allegations. The appeal, filed through advocate Saqib Jilani, argues that the trial court erred both in law and on facts while adjudicating the dispute.
Kenya's Sebastian Sawe has returned home to joyous scenes after becoming the first man to run a marathon in under 2 hours in competitive race conditions. His incredible achievement at the London Marathon on Sunday is being celebrated in Kenya, where officials welcomed him home in the midst of a crush of cameras at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in the capital, Nairobi.
Oil prices jumped on Thursday in Asia after a report that the US military is set to brief President Donald Trump on new plans for potential action in the Iran war. US Central Command has prepared a plan for a wave of short and powerful strikes on Iran in a move aimed to break the deadlock in negotiations with Tehran, news site Axios reported. The BBC has contacted US Central Command and the White House for comment.
And oil prices soared more than 6% on worries about prolonged supply disruption in the Strait of Hormuz and fears of a lengthy US siege of Iranian ports, settling at their highest levels in weeks. And US crude settled up 6.95% at Wednesday, and $6.80. The international benchmark was up 6.28%, or $6.77 at $118. And a 3 after earlier touching its highest price since June 2022, the Reuters news agency reports.
Australian white supremacist killer Brenton Tarrant has lost an appeal to overturn his conviction and sentence for shooting dead 51 people at 2 New Zealand mosques in 2019. Court documents show New Zealand Court of Appeal denied Tarrant's that appeal on Thursday, ruling that his attempt to overturn his guilty plea for the country's deadliest mass shooting was utterly devoid of merit. The UAE's exit from OPEC is another sign of the major geopolitical shifts that are reshaping the global order. One of the organization's top producers, the UAE's decision seems largely influenced by the politics of oil. Yet, geopolitical calculations and intra-Gulf rivalries, specifically with Saudi Arabia, are also at play here. As per reports, the Emiratis were unhappy with the quotas placed by OPEC on members and wanted to pump as much crude as they desired. This was reflected in an Emirati government statement after the announcement of Abu Dhabi's exit, that the UAE had made greater sacrifices for the benefit of all.
Pakistan investment story has rarely had a more promising tailwind. The macroeconomic stabilisation under the 37-month Extended Fund Facility F, supplemented by the Resilience and Sustainability Facility, has been more decisive than most observers expected. The fiscal deficit has narrowed to 5.4% of GDP, with the primary surplus rising to a historic 2.4 PC in FY25. Reserves have nearly doubled to $14.5 billion. Inflation has fallen below 5 PC, and successive sovereign upgrades by Fitch, S&P and Moody's have followed. The geopolitical moment is unusually supportive. The sentiment in the international community in the non-traditional export-oriented sectors such as mining and digital and IT services is extremely encouraging. This has reset the tone in how Pakistan engages capital. Reko Diq achieved financial closure in 2025, a $7 billion project backed by International Finance Corporation, the Asian Development Bank and financiers from the US, Canada, Japan and Saudi Arabia. It is projected to deliver $2. 5 billion in annual exports from 2028. After a near two-decade hiatus, the privatisation of Pehel closed in December 2025. It is indeed a vote of confidence, and the precedent it sets for the DISCOs, electricity distribution companies, and other state-owned enterprises, SOEs, is more valuable than the transaction itself. It seems that Pakistan is positioning itself for an export-led takeoff.
There is a specific kind of quiet that settles over a capital city when its ruling elite begins to realize that the ground beneath their feet is moving. In Canberra and Melbourne, among the scholars and officials who manage the delicate machinery of the Australian state's foreign policy, that quiet is palpable. There is the hushed intensity of a room where the old maps no longer match the terrain. I am currently here meeting those tasked with studying and navigating these waters, and the sense one gets is unmistakable. Asia is undergoing a crucial transition. For decades, the regional order was built on two sturdy pillars, American security protection and American economic dynamism. Today, both pillars are trembling. The region is waking up to a world where it can no longer outsource its security to Washington, or relies solely on the American consumer to drive its growth. Instead, it is being forced to find its own security architecture and cultivate its own sources of economic dynamism.